Okay, you knew it was coming. You knew it was gonna have to arrive. This stage where you tell it. Okay, yeah. Just purge it, your story. What happened? Okay, so before you start to freak out, if you are gonna freak out about telling it, look at it like a sword. Okay, and we're going to begin the process of removing it, which is you gotta tell your story. Now, you might be in a place where you're like, no way, I ain't telling it. Zippo, not doing it. Now, this does not mean you're gonna get up on stage and tell it in front of 500 people. This doesn't mean that you're gonna write a book and reveal everybody's name, okay? Perhaps it's just with your therapist. Perhaps it's just with your support group, with your best friend. If you're not ready for that, write it down. Write down everything that's coming up for you, all the triggering things that happened. What happened? What's your story? So, because the key is when you tell it, it's not as scary, and tell it meaning tell it or write it. It's not as scary as you think, okay? Goes back to the sword. Yeah, it's gonna hurt, okay? But it doesn't last forever. It has an end point, okay? So, you mean that you can see that. So by telling your story, you're slowly releasing the power that it holds over you. The first time is the hardest, I will not lie to you. And it hurts, and you may cry, and you may get mad, and you may go numb. This is why this is a really, really good thing to do with a support group somehow. Support group like your therapist, your friend, somehow have some support when you're going to do this. And if you really are alone and you want to do it on your own, write it down, call a friend, call a hotline. You want to tell it out loud or write it down. Both are powerful stuff, okay? Both are extremely powerful. So if you're not at the stage where you're like, no, I'm not going to do it, you can go in baby steps. Write down bullet points, just write down, you don't have to go into details, just write, 3 words, or little bullet points of this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, and that's all I'm saying. Okay, baby steps. We all reach that stage when you gotta purge it. Maybe it's that time in your therapist's office when you finally stop talking about being mad about the whatever, and you tell something that actually is more connected to the original trauma. It's time to purge it. I've actually heard from quite a few survivors who are like, oh, I can't tell my therapist that. I don't want to reveal it. I'm like, that's their job. That's what you're paying them for. That's their job. You're supposed to tell them everything. And if you don't feel comfortable telling them everything, maybe you want to get a new therapist. Okay? Or maybe you want to address the fact that you're still hiding from it. Okay? Now, this is a stage that's not going to be easy. This step all the way to step 3, step 3 gets a little bit more fun. But step 1 and 2 is which we're in, is acknowledging it and then starting to remove it. It hurts. But much like, okay, say you broke your leg. Do you want me to leave you? I broke my leg on the ski lift. I fell off the ski lift. So I broke my leg. Because it hurt, should they leave me there? You know what I mean? So, no, you have to fix the leg and have a little surgery and get the bones back together. Okay, same thing applies. Yeah, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt for all of us. We've all been through that stage where you're like, no, I don't want to tell it. Listen, it's like removing a sword. Yeah, it's going to hurt, but you know what? You're going to be okay. I've seen 2 things that are most common with people addressing their first purge, if you will. Fear of getting so mad that you turn into a Tasmanian devil and you never stop spinning an angry spit of fire. That was me. Or fear that I will start crying and I'll never stop crying for the rest of my life. Now, that is usually the person that has all the blockades up. You know, their heart and their soul is like got barricaded, locked up. You know, they're ones like, I cut you. You know, I'm tough. Those tend to be the type that they're afraid of crying. And it's okay, because you know what? Once this type of person, and I've met so many of them, when you tell it and you start to purge it, oh my gosh, you're like the sweetest, awesome teddy bear inside. And then you have people like me who would cry at anything. I'll cry at a puppy commercial. But if I address my rage, I might climb the walls and become like the exorcist freak woman, because I'm so mad, or I was so mad, right? So you're like, yeah, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to touch that because I don't know what would happen. I'll just cry about it. Okay, I've seen those constantly over and over and over, afraid of the tears, afraid of the anger. Okay, so whichever one you are, maybe you're a little bit of both, really embrace that. Okay, so if you're afraid of crying, let's have a cry day. Let's take off work or school or whatever, you know what I mean? Because this is like getting better. This is going to alter the course of your entire life by removing this. This is important stuff. So it's okay to take some time where you're going to cry all day. We're going to cry all day. Guess what? You probably actually won't cry all day. But when you schedule it in, this is my cry day, I'm going to cry all day. And maybe I'll tell just a little bit of it. Or I'm going to get mad today, and today I'm going to take a kickboxing class. Or I'm going to beat the sofa with my therapist with that foam bat thing that she has in the corner, and I'm afraid to look at it. Hey, use it. Take whatever, those two things, you know, the crying or the rage. Embrace it and tell your story. Okay? You got it? It's hard, I know, but it has an end point, and it does get better. And like I said, like, I wouldn't leave you on a ski resort lift or whatever with a broken leg. Now, do you want to be left like just with the sword for the rest of your life? No. You have to go through a little pain to pull it out, but then we're going to have it out. Okay? So there's an end point. Doesn't last forever. The crying is not going to last for the rest of your life, and the rage is not going to last for the rest of your life. Embrace it. Set some time away for it, and tell your story. Okay? It's worth it. It's worth it. I promise you.